Welcome to the 𝙏𝙝𝙚 podcast. In this episode, we'll speak with two founders of the Commercial Law School, a YouTube channel set up by two future trainee solicitors to help aspiring solicitors at every stage. So thank you, Fadzai and Tia, for joining us today.
Hi. So, we're the Commercial Law School. We started in the summer after the lockdown, and we're really happy to be here, happy to answer your questions, and really looking forward to today.
Fantastic. So Fadzai, just for anybody who hasn't come across it yet, I know it's been useful for my own learning about commercial law and many other people as well, but just to sort of introduce the YouTube channel for those who may not have heard about it, what would you sort of, in a very brief summary, explain the YouTube channel as providing?
Yeah, so the YouTube channel is, we basically create like short animated YouTube videos to help people understand key principles and, key things about commercial law. So far we've produced videos about the basics, what a training contract is, the different practice areas, but we've also got content that will help, applicants that are at the assessment center stage. So it's kind of just kind of trying to break down the barriers of knowledge, in the commercial law sector and, giving people access to, easily digestible information.
Yeah, and I think it's a really great initiative in terms of helping students out, because perhaps in the past there may not have been as many resources out there. So I think it's great that you've worked there. But just in terms of sort of actually producing the videos, so who does the sort of script writing, who does the animation, who records? Could you just sort of, touch on like who does what and what your roles are within this wider YouTube channel?
Yeah, absolutely. So me and Tia just divide the work. It's 50-50 split between us. Where it kind of starts off is that we have meetings on a regular basis where we'll say, okay, for the next, let's say 5 videos, these are going to be the topics that we talk about. And then each person will take a video in turn. And then, let's say I was doing a video on video interviews. I would be the one that creates the script for the video interviews, and I write my scripts up, and then I check it with Tia to make sure that it's all okay for the video. Once the script is all okay, we go on to the platform where we actually create the video, and it's just a process of just trying to attach the relevant scenes to whatever we're talking about and whatever the audio is saying. And then after we've attached the scenes, we attach the audio, and then just going back and forth, making sure that everything is okay and just revising anything that needs to be revised. That's kind of like the whole process.
So just to sort of throw you in the deep end and spring it on you, which video that each of you have produced did you enjoy making the most? Tia, I think we'll start with you for this one.
Okay. It's quite an interesting question, but I think I liked doing the artificial intelligence video the most, purely because I had been getting quite a few messages on my personal LinkedIn account about artificial intelligence, kind of what is it about, how would you go about talking about it in an interview. So I thought it was a great opportunity to kind of answer those questions that many people may have. Even when I've done some mocks with people, the artificial intelligence is a section that sometimes people are a bit unsure about. So I thought, okay, this is a good opportunity to address it. And I really enjoyed making the video, because I think it's an interesting topic to talk about, to research, to learn about, and to also teach other people about. So I really did enjoy making that video and the research that went behind it.
Fantastic. And what about you, Fadzai?
I would probably say the Watson Glazer video that we made. At the time, I remember when I was making the video, I was really upset. I kept telling Tia because it was taking so long. It's probably one of our longest videos. It's 10 minutes. But in retrospect, the video's gotten a lot of views, which obviously it's nice to get a lot of views, but then it's also nice to see that people have genuinely found the video useful, which we've gotten a lot of people coming back to us saying, we've watched the Watson Glazer video and it's been super useful in their preparation for the Watson Glazer test. So I would probably say that that's probably been my favorite video to make.
Yeah, and it looks like you've got a very good working relationship in terms of this YouTube channel. So just to bring it back to the very beginning, so you're both sort of interested in different firms, and you're both future trainees at different firms. So how did you actually begin this sort of project? How did you sort of come to to make this project? And did you study at the same university, or did you just happen to cross paths?
Yeah, so Fadzai and I have been, very good friends for a while, since we started at the University of Birmingham, and that's where we met. And we've kind of gone through the process together of going through law school and all the stress, doing assignments together, doing applications together, doing mock interviews with each other, and just kind of helping each other out when we were applying to vacation schemes and training contracts. So we always had that connection of helping each other improve academically and with our career prospects too. And then, one day we kind of were sitting and talking, and we just thought it would be useful if we had like a platform where, someone would be able to explain complicated content in a very short and digestible way, because we were just kind of just sitting down and thinking about when we first wanted to be commercial lawyers and to the point we are now, and how there were so many bumps in the road, and there were so many things that we didn't understand, and our lives would have been a lot easier if there were some things that had been explained to us earlier. So we kind of thought, okay, if we could essentially make a platform that would have everything that we wished that we would have known at an earlier stage, we could help so many people. So that was kind of where we started. And then Fadzai came up with the idea to start kind of like a YouTube channel and kind of just, make it straight to the point, quick, easy to understand, not too much like legal jargon. And, so in that way, it would help people that, maybe have never heard about, law firms and commercial law and all that kind of stuff, just kind of taking them through the basics, and then all the way up to, very specific things such as interviews and, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of that's like the context behind how we started.
Fantastic. And there are sort of different elements of the application process. Depending on the firms, they'll have different processes. You might have like a written application, a Watson Glaser, maybe a video interview. Some have situational judgment tests, and assessment centers as well. There are lots of different elements. So which part of the application process do you think students maybe have the greatest misconception, or maybe find the hardest to approach, Fadzai?
I would probably say, I think a lot of people kind of, in terms of misconceptions, I feel like I would say maybe people have a lot of misconceptions about, I think, the application form. I feel like a lot of the times people kind of, with the application form in particular, what I see a lot of the times when I'm like reviewing a lot of people's applications is that sometimes someone will write an application and the question might be something like, what would you like about our firm, for example? And the person will, maybe in another answer, I've talked about the skills that they have. And then this question is asking, what do you like about our firm? And a lot of people feel like, they always have to keep linking back to the firm in terms of their experiences. So say, oh, Clifford Chance is really good for charity, and I also really like charity, which obviously it's important to kind of make those connections. But then a lot of the times I feel like sometimes people stray too far away from the question and start to focus too much on themselves, which doesn't really help them in answering the question. I think it's a mistake that I used to make when I started making applications. For example, with the Clifford Chance application, obviously it's just like, you've got one question where they want you to talk about your experiences, and that's all they ask for. A lot of the times I would try to, continuously relate the firm back, or try to talk about the firm and just make these connections just because I felt like, I needed to. But I think a lot of the times people kind of have the misconception that there always needs to be, these links that are made. And I feel like, that's probably where a lot of people probably fall off on.
Yeah, so essentially what you're trying to say is that maybe although it might be beneficial in some sense to link, your experiences to your interest in a firm, the focus should be more on why interest in the firm, not why maybe you have a particular skill, because that could be, answered in a different question perhaps, or in an interview. So I think that's a very interesting point you make.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, kind of another thing that me and Fadzai have both noticed is that people feel really discouraged when they're applying, because they think that maybe they don't have enough legal work experience, and they think that can really put them at a very big disadvantage. But that's not really the case. I think you just kind of have to work with what you have. So, you know, work experience includes, you know, any part-time jobs that you might have, and, you know, the skills that you pick up in part-time jobs are applicable to, you know, the role of a lawyer in terms of, you know, working with clients, time management, like that kind of stuff. You can always make those links. And I think people just think that firms are expecting you to, you know, have had lots of legal work experience, but that's not necessarily the case. Anything you've done in your extracurriculars, anything you've done, you know, maybe in uni or volunteering, literally anything where you can show that you've gained some key skills, they are also very valuable. I think that people kind of downplay how important they are, and they just focus on, you know, the legal stuff, but it doesn't put you at a disadvantage if you don't have as much legal work experience. And I think that's a very, very common misconception that people have when they're applying to firms.
Yeah, and I think, okay, this is a very big question, but you know, I think it's an important one as well. So for a student perhaps starting out in university, whether they study law or not, but they're interested in commercial law, what do you think the key steps are that they should take to set themselves up to be both a successful applicant, but also perhaps you know, successful in the role of a trainee? For example, like what areas of commercial law do they need to look to? Do you think they should focus more on practice areas or on, you know, diversity and inclusion initiatives? What sort of, you know, key aspects of firms and of commercial law as an industry do you think they should sort of focus on in order to best set themselves up? Fadzai, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, that's fine. I think in terms of kind of the steps that you should take if you're looking to go into commercial law, I think you should just look at it very holistically. So, you know, consider everything when you're obviously looking to become a commercial lawyer. And I think that, you know, when you first kind of, you know, make the decision that, you know, you want to become a commercial lawyer, I think one of the best places to start is just by attending open days. I feel like there's a lot to be gained from attending open days. You start to learn about different kinds of firms and how they operate. And also, you know, there's these, you know, platforms where you can do like virtual internships. Like I feel like, you know, those are very good starting points for kind of, you know, getting exposure to a commercial law career. I think that in terms of other steps that people can take, they can look into different initiatives. For example, rare recruitment is something that is available for, you know, people from a BAME background, and, you know, those kind of initiatives, they help you through the application process. You know, just connecting with people on LinkedIn and, you know, trying to find out more about the commercial law area in general is always a good thing to do. But I feel like, you know, in terms of what kind of areas they should be looking into, I feel like it's good to look into everything. I think it's all also dependent on what is important to you, because, you know, for me, for example, diversity and inclusion is very important. So, you know, in researching law firms and that kind of stuff, it's something that I always look to. Whereas, you know, there might be other things that are more important to other people. So it's kind of, you know, I think it will, you know, depend on where your interests lie. But I definitely think it's good to look at commercial law firms very holistically and just kind of try to get as much information as you can.
Perfect. And Tia, what would you say to that as well?
Yeah, I think I agree as well. I think it's best to look at it holistically, and then, you know, once you've seen everything, you can kind of decide from there what you look for in a firm, and then you can hone in on that when you're, you know, explaining why you want to work for that firm. So, like as I said, if you're really keen on, you know, diversity and inclusion, then, you know, that's obviously something that you would really research and bring up where you had a chance. If you're someone that is really looking to have opportunities to work abroad, then things like, you know, chances of international secondment is something that you'd be researching and talking about. AI, if you're really interested in tech or a really forward-looking firm, then, you know, you would probably focus on that. So, like as I said, I think it's best to just kind of look at it in the round, and then once you know what really attracts you to a firm, you can then choose specific things that you can really research in detail, and then present as, you know, your key reasons for applying to the firm.
I think those are really good reasons and answers in terms of looking at holistically and considering your own priorities and why you're interested in law in the first place, and to focus on those and the wider perspective as well. But for somebody who's perhaps starting out, they may see different firms. They all generally have the same practice areas. They're all fairly strong in terms of their occupation in the city of London, and it may be hard to sort of pinpoint what exactly differentiates each firm from the others. So what resources would you recommend from your own experience, or after the process that you embarked on, that you would sort of recommend to students who may be a little bit overwhelmed in terms of finding the differences between firms?
I think resources such as, like Chambers Student Guide and, the Chambers True Picture is really one of the most invaluable resources for looking at that kind of stuff, because, when we were starting out, that's what we really used. They show you like maybe the firms that are strong in certain practice areas. So, okay, this firm is good for banking and finance, or that kind of stuff. They tell you this is a magic circle firm or this is a silver circle firm, so you can make the distinctions about what kind of firms it is that you're looking to apply to, and they just have like summaries about what the firm is known for, what they're popular for, what kind of work they do, what kind of firm they are, just the basics, which I think it's useful to have a very bite-sized explanation about these kinds of things when you're looking at them for the first time, and it's easier to understand. So I think things like that, and then things like Legal Cheek and Legal Geek, they kind of give you the information in a way that's just easy to read, easy to understand. So I think those kind of online blogs are really student friendly when you're first looking at firms and learning about them.
Yeah, I think that was a really good point. And of course, you can look at it in different ways. You can look at their rankings. For example, you mentioned Chambers, they have like band 1, band 2, and beyond that as well. You can also look at different deals that the firms have worked on, and different stats, and there's different sort of elements you can consider as well. But just okay, so students really, I think, would like to learn about law firms in a sort of work experience sense. But in terms of actually finding work experience, it may be difficult to know where you're supposed to look. Like, are there any particular websites that promote different work experience placements? Should you just look at firms in terms of the websites? So from your own experience, were there any sort of resources that you found which perhaps list different work experience programs that you can apply for, that you would recommend to students who may be going through this stage at the moment? Fadzai?
Yeah, I would say the only one that I can really think of is Legal Cheek, which Tia's already mentioned. But if you go onto Legal Cheek, it tells you, whether you want to apply for a training contract, a vacation scheme, an open day. It literally tells you everything that you can apply for to get some sort of work experience with that firm. And it tells you, the deadline dates, and then, you can follow other links to find out the application processes. So I would definitely recommend Legal Cheek for a place where you can kind of find all of the information for a particular firm in terms of the kind of work experience opportunities they offer.
Yeah, and Tia, would you have any other sites or any other approaches that you would perhaps recommend?
Yeah, I mainly used Legal Cheek as well, because it had all the like as I said, all the deadlines. It had like a long list of firms, so it was kind of like a one-stop shop. But another thing that I would say in terms of like experiences, I think it's good to, especially if you're starting out in uni, try and join societies or take on roles of responsibility, because these experiences are also really good to talk about in interviews and also in your extracurricular section. You may have more like responsibility in a role at uni than you would maybe doing a vacation scheme somewhere where you're just like a VAC student. But if you can really talk about where you've led a team, where you've had lots of responsibility, had to balance your time and do all that kind of stuff, it's something that's quite impressive. So I'd say that, as well as obviously applying for legal work experience, try and get some experience, in any role, whether it be at uni or volunteering, where you can have responsibility and leadership skills that you can talk about at a later stage.
Yeah, I think that was a great point in terms of getting a broad range of experience, both legal and non-legal, so you can have a sort of diversity of perspective and have transferable skills that you can use in your application, in interviews and beyond as well. So just to sort of bring it back to, you know, the YouTube channel that you both founded, the Commercial Law School, what are your sort of ambitions for the program? Do you have any, you know, long-term, medium-term goals that you're sort of building your way up towards, Fadzai?
Yeah, I would say one of the key goals that we have for this year is to reach 2,000 subscribers, because last year, like, we reached like a big milestone, which is 1,000 subscribers, and we were like really happy with that because it had only been like 6 months since we launched our channel. So this year we hope to, you know, get some more subscribers once the application season starts again. So that's probably one of our main goals. Another one of our key goals is just kind of to try to gain different perspectives on things so we can make our YouTube videos more accessible to like different people. So for example, we've had like, you know, a few people asking us, and a few people that ask me personally, you know, whether I know the process for applying for like an international student, which, you know, I'm not too, you know, well versed on that because, you know, I'm not an international student. So what we're trying to do is try to connect with more, you know, like trainees that may have experience in different areas where, you know, we maybe kind of lack that knowledge, and try to collaborate with them to, you know, be able to make our content accessible for a wider range of people. I'd say those are, you know, two of our key goals. I don't know if I've missed anything, Tia.
No, I agree. I think that in our last meeting, those are the main talking points that we spoke about. So, yeah.
And do you think that, you know, you're maybe not fast, but, you know, you're very, very, very well, you know, the growth that you've managed to achieve in your YouTube channel, do you think that the extent you've managed to grow in maybe such a short period of time, relatively speaking, is maybe indicative of the fact that there may be a lack of resources, and that there's perhaps like a space in the market for, you know, other providers and you know, resources that, you know, provided by students from their own experiences that can sort of benefit other students in terms of resources, YouTube videos, etc.?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I feel like once around the time of the lockdown, I think that's when we really saw kind of like a lot more platforms, you know, starting up with doing similar things to us. Future trainees have also started a lot of programs, which I think is good because it's, you know, before it was difficult to have access to this kind of help. You know, some, you know, organizations might do it, but then it might be very expensive. Some people might not be able to afford it. So I think that, you know, it has shown that, you know, there is space for people to come and share their experiences and help others. And I think this is really going to increase accessibility for people who are looking for help that maybe in previous years maybe would not have been able to afford it, or may not have had that access, whereas now they can. So I think, yeah, it is kind of signaling a change into how people provide services in terms of tutoring and help for entering the law profession. I think we'll see a lot more people providing more free or low cost services and platforms to help other people who are looking to start careers in commercial law, which I think is great. So.
Excellent. And you know, I know that many students will and have already benefited from, you know, the videos that you provide to them. So I think it's really good that you've founded this YouTube channel, and, you know, using your own experiences, I think, to benefit students, because I think maybe before lockdown, and you sort of touched upon the fact that maybe most of the resources that were available were perhaps people who are sort of more senior in their career, and maybe the sort of disconnect in terms of experience and the changes that have happened in the commercial market maybe make that not as relevant to students now. So I think, again, it's great that you've done this, and I would just like to thank you both for you know, coming on to this podcast. I'll attach the link to your YouTube channel so that people can you know, find your resources, and I would definitely recommend they check them out, like the videos, and subscribe to them as well. So again, thank you both for joining, and it's been a really insightful discussion about your YouTube channel.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.